Welcome back, good people of God and all others who just happen to be maybe found us on some sort of your favorite podcasting device, such as Spotify
and our radio. Don't forget about the radio listeners.
Oh, wait,
we got some people.
What station are we on?
94.3 in Stillwater and AM 780 on Sunday mornings.
AM 780?
AM 780.
Does it simulcast? Boom, both of them go out.
Both of them at 9:30 on Sunday mornings.
And then there's Mass after that at 10.
And then we have the radio Mass at 10.
Oh.
Which we record. That's recorded on Saturday night or Sunday morning and then replayed Sundays at 10 on the radio for anyone to listen. It's part of our evangelization efforts, spreading the good news of Jesus Christ.
We don't do that.
I do.
I mean, we don't do radio.
What do you mean?
I don't do.
Oh, St. John's.
We have.
But also, I mean, I cannot. I hope we can. We're working hard actually to try to get a Catholic radio station in Stillwater. I think it would be awesome. It would be great for evangelization, and really one of the best. This is a total side. This is not our topic today, but one of the best things about Catholic radio. So if you're out there and you're listening, you think no one listens to the radio anymore. Number one, you're listening to the radio right now, so shut it. Then the most fruitful place for Catholic radio is prisons.
Wow,
prisons.
Cushing.
So what we would like is if we're able to get Stillwater radio here, it would reach the Payne County Jail,
okay,
here locally. And then we hope that we'd be able to have the power, and it's just all about sort of how big is your signal, how strong is your signal, to reach the prison in Cushing for our brothers there.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, fantastic.
Yep. So that's a little side note. So a couple weeks ago, this is a little bit sort of past for those of you college students who are listening. But I just want, Father Kerry, could you tell us about, there's this conference that happens every year called the Seek Conference, which normally is like this in one place. It's been in Phoenix, Chicago. I've never been. I just sort of
Orlando.
watch it from afar. But it's basically 20,000 college students in one place. But in COVID tide, they were very creative. I thought it was really, from what I could see from my little perch across town.
Seek is normally like 350 priests, religious sisters, brothers, communities.
Oh, Catholic Woodstock. You know?
That is a way. I mean, there's live music, there's coffee shops, there's it's usually in a hotel, so in the evening people sit around.
It's a big convention.
Yeah. And just have some cold beers in the evening and talk about life and share things together. It is a fantastic time for the Catholic world at the college level, and it's also because of COVID tide been shrunk down to just local parishes. So we did ours here in Stillwater, and we had 105 students that turned out for it. And sort of college campuses around the country rented places. I know Bo Blanchard said they use the cathedral in Nashville. Yeah. They use different places. I saw, Father Mike Schmitz did his talk. It was beautiful on the fatherhood of God from their student center in Duluth, Minnesota. And all over the country, there were pockets of 100. It was kind of like the early church. Just like groups of 100 people gathered together to do this. And the talks, some of them were pre-recorded and some of them were live. A few of them were live. We actually had to use our church and student center and sort of open it up. We had to move the Blessed Sacrament out to the sacristy because we just didn't have enough. We didn't have enough space.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to have people in the parish hall, people in the church, and I can't wait for this new place our new student center to get built, because then our Hoftorium, our parish hall, will seat 358 people. And the church will seat about 450.
That's awesome.
So it's just like stuff like this we can do on a large scale. So beautiful talks. People can go look up the talks and watch them.
I loved the one that I saw was the talk from Bishop Robert Barron.
Oh, that was the first night. Who is Jesus?
Identity of Jesus. And I watched it for myself because I like Bishop Barron. I like what he has to say. He challenges me and makes me smarter and holier. And I watched it, and it was like 18 minutes, and I was like, this is amazing. So I actually watched it with my staff. We had a staff meeting a couple weeks back, and we watched it together and had a little discussion. And then I send out a little message to my whole parish every Thursday via Flock Note. And I always include little resources, and I included that as well. I don't know how many people looked at it, but I just thought it was well done. And it was Bishop Barron speaking to a college audience, but it had implications far beyond. It's called The Identity of Jesus. You can look it up on Word on Fire. But anyway, I just love, that whole conference seemed to have, which you had 100+ students, who just had, kind of 3 days of intensity, of knowledge and prayer. And, we had, you and me and Father Robert had confessions for an hour and a half.
Each of us had an hour and a half worth of confessions simultaneously.
It was awesome. And that was all during adoration. And so it's just this wonderful, and I think it's just that conference, Seek and Focus, which is the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. And you had Olivia on, we've had the missionaries on the show a couple times. That's a one example of just awesome things happening in the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and they're not just happening at college campuses. Like Amanda George, who was here as a Focus missionary.
Yep, I remember her. She's been on the show.
Yeah, she was on the show. Her birthday was February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Oh, also the feast of Saints Cyril and Methodius.
Oh, that's right.
Also known as the 6th Sunday in Ordinary Time.
And this year it was the last Sunday before Lent. But they have Focus missionaries at their parish in O'Fallon, Missouri.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's not just like happening.
Yeah, Focus is awesome.
So what happened here in Stillwater, Oklahoma, also happened in O'Fallon, Missouri, which is northwest of St. Louis, about 35 minutes.
For old people?
And so, like Amanda's finding out as she's discipling people her parents' age, and she's finding out that some people have never heard the gospel before, and they've been Catholics for 50 years, 60 years.
They've heard about Jesus, they've just never met him.
Yeah. And so now she's going up there and evangelizing her home parish where she was raised.
That's awesome.
And
that's just one example of just really awesome things happening in the Catholic Church. Now, is there a lot of reasons to be pessimistic in our world today? Yeah, the pandemic rages. Is it getting better? It seems to be here locally and then around the world as the vaccine comes out and people. I don't know. Just numbers seem to be going down. But there's other. I think another example we mentioned a couple weeks ago is there's a priest named Father Mike Schmitz who is a priest of the diocese. Priest of the Diocese of Duluth, Minnesota, which is a lot like the Diocese of Tulsa. Like nobody cares about it. We're small. We're not New York. We're not L.A. We're not Phoenix. We're not St. Louis.
Can anything come from Tulsa?
Yeah,
Good?
Diocese of Tulsa in eastern Oklahoma, in the grand scheme of the world church, we're tiny, right? We have 77 parishes. We have 70 priests. We're tiny, right? We're nothing, So Diocese of Duluth, Minnesota, is way up there. It's small. It's
snowed in half the year.
Yeah. But there's a priest from there, he's named Father Mike Schmitz, who has for many years now done a great job with media. He does these videos and talks and has written some books and all kinds of stuff. But then, beginning of this year, comes out this thing called the Bible in a Year podcast. And
if you haven't started listening to it,
just start it. It's crazy. I've been doing it every day since January 1st, and it's awesome. It's basically how I start my day. I do it first thing in the morning, kind of as I'm like getting ready for the day, It's awesome. It's 22 minutes, something like that. And so basically for 365 days, he's walking us through the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And it's awesome. It's just so good. Anyway, it's another example of just really cool, awesome things happening in the church. So then for the first, 2 weeks of the year, it was the number one podcast in America.
Yeah, it dipped down to 5 at one point in time and back up to 3. And it's always behind true crimes or something like that. He was on the who's that the Jewish guy
Ben Shapiro.
He was on the Ben Shapiro show, and they were asking that question are people hungry for the scriptures or are they just lazy? And I mean, the answer is both. I mean, we use the technology we have to do these things like podcasts. And it's so rich and so beautiful that people want to listen to.
So he's still in the top 10.
He's at number what?
He's still in the top 10. As we're recording this, the day I'm looking at it, it's the number 6 podcast in America. So it's been top 10 since the year started. And the other stuff, I mean, it's like news stuff and Dateline and, a bunch of other, it's kind of politics, Joe Rogan,
right,
all that kind of stuff. But it's just, I think it's a beautiful example of the church, of how the church can reach new people and old people. The number of people that I know that are listening to this, I mean, parishioners, it's dozens upon dozens upon dozens. Those are just that's just the ones I know about.
Yeah, Francis Murphy, cattle rancher up in Shiloh, Oklahoma. He's out working cattle, and he listens to it. He gets out, he stops it, he gets out of his truck, works cattle, gets back in, hits play.
That's awesome.
So that's okay. So there are two things. So Focus, Bible in Ear podcast. I would say St. Paul's Outreach is another really awesome organization that not a lot of people know about. They build households and they just form young people on college campuses.
That's a great example. I think, even in COVID, and I'm not being critical of anybody, but I think Catholic schools in the United States have been kind of a leader in being able to handle COVID and having kids in school, and enrollment is down, and I think that's mostly an economics. People have less money, and therefore, struggle with tuition payments. But Catholic schools, just in the United States, I think have been a beautiful example. I would also put, Catholic healthcare, just in Tulsa. The Catholics run the two biggest hospitals, Ascension St. John's and St. Francis Hospital.
Right.
And so the care that is happening. I love I don't know if this is still their motto, but I loved it several years ago when I lived in Tulsa, back in my younger days. And St. John's used to say that their mission, the mission of St. John's Hospital, is to carry on the healing ministry of Jesus Christ.
Whoa.
That as a hospital, they want to heal. What did Jesus do? He healed. As a hospital, they're carrying on that mission. And so that's happening all over the world. Catholic healthcare hospitals are serving people in, I don't know if it's every country in the world, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And so just the reach of the church, and I think sometimes, the church, sometimes we're in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. And most of that we deserve it because we've been far from perfect. But just the good that's going on in the church. I love, we were talking about Bishop Barron, like his word, he calls it the Word on Fire,
right?
Movement, Word on Fire Institute, is doing amazing work with what they're putting out in terms of evangelization, videos, books, the Word on Fire Bible. Which is only like volume 1 has come out. It was just the Gospels, and there's more coming. There's just stuff like that.
And he's not afraid to talk about the serious issues going on in our culture.
Not at all.
Can I throw one out?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think most people haven't heard of the Thomistic Institute.
Yes.
The Thomistic Institute. Here, just a little list. Is the Mass a sacrifice? Okay, yeah, sure, I got that. Why God became man? Okay. On distributism. So you want to become a doctor, medicine as an instrument, job versus sacred vocation, Job. What? Physics and philosophy. Does Thomas Aquinas have anything to offer? I mean, these
they're Dominicans.
They're Dominicans, so the order of preachers. But they're also, as someone said recently, they're required to study 3 hours a day. Yes, you're required to pray. Yes, you're required to go to Mass. Yes, you're involved in community events. Yes, you have to have mostly like at least a master's degree and probably a PhD. And you're required to study 3 hours a day. You're required to be learned. And so they get the best and the brightest that become Dominicans. And they become writers and speakers.
What about us?
Oh.
What are we?
But they're not a bunch of chumps. And sometimes you see in history books, like there's one mention of a Dominican, and it's some like rebellious Dominican preacher who told a king that whatever money I get, I will give half of it to you. And so he is kind of promoted in some history books as like the guy that started the Protestant revolt, because people were so mad at the Dominicans in Europe. But I mean, we know that money corrupts the heart, as the scripture says. So he did that. But also there are these other Dominicans that are saintly, like
yeah.
St. Thomas
So look up the Thomistic, and that's named after St. Thomas Aquinas,
right?
13th century, who was a Dominican,
right?
Probably the smartest person who ever lived.
And that idea that faith and reason, as John Paul II said, are the two wings that lift us to heaven.
Yes.
That God is reasonable and we are reasonable, and we unite our reason, our rational faculties with faith, and that this is a responsibility for us to inform ourselves. So just stuff going on in the United States, the Thomistic Institute, the Augustine Institute in Denver, Colorado, which
awesome.
is a incredible biblical school.
They're responsible for those of you here who are familiar with formed.org.
Yeah.
Is a wonderful website. It's like I think we've talked about it before. It's like the Catholic Netflix.
Right.
It just has videos and radio shows and movies,
audiobooks
in English and in Spanish. We have a subscription, by the way, which anybody in Stillwater can use. If you reach out. Yeah, it's awesome, just awesome. So the Augustine Institute, and I think in many, what I love in many of these, Word on Fire, is run by Bishop Barron, but basically, I mean, on the ground, it's not bishops and priests running it. It's holy lay faithful. The Augustine Institute. I mean, do they have priests around?
Yeah, Father Ryan and maybe two others.
But who runs it? I mean, Tim Gray and these,
Dr. Shree.
Just awesome, smart, wonderful people. In Word on Fire, I've been impressed with, there's a woman named Holly Ordway, who is like one of their Word on Fire fellows. Google her. I mean, the books she's putting out, the articles that she's putting out, is just incredible. So there's so much good happening. And we're not even talking locally. We'll get into that here in just a minute. We can talk about the kind of the local angle. But if you look at Catholicism in the arts, Catholicism in the media, Catholicism in outreach to those who are in need, there is so much good happening. And we haven't even talked about the sacraments. We haven't even talked about that the church has continued to, in so many places, to remain open, and to continue to be a source of grace for people, allowing people to receive Holy Communion and kind of creatively celebrate Mass, outside, and offer confessions and visit people, and visit the sick. There's just a lot of good happening in the church right now, and we never want you to forget it.
Wow. Okay, that's the United States.
Yeah.
What else is going on in the United States that we don't know of? We're building new churches and student centers.
Oh, yeah. No, and so you look at, so there are places where I've been really impressed with, I think probably one of the best like media outreaches is like the Archdiocese of Detroit. They came out, you don't think of Detroit is kind of a Catholic city historically, but you don't think of Detroit as like a great center of evangelization. Well, they did a couple years ago, they did a year of like reparation for the sins of the church.
Okay.
Followed by a year, and I may be getting this out of order, a year of like prayer, followed by a year of like discernment. And then they came out with this kind of pastoral plan called Unleash the Gospel.
Unleash the Gospel?
And their bishop wrote a big pastoral letter. And I'm just so impressed with what they're doing, kind of their outward focus. Now, are they also having to like close parishes? Yeah. They're having to kind of retract because there was a time, probably 50s and 60s, there were, a church on every corner,
right.
and we're not there anymore. So we have to sort of, bring our resources together. So there are places where the church is in that way is sort of retracting. Pittsburgh is another one where they're going from, 250 parishes to like 80, right? And that's painful, right? And I'm not saying that all that is like wonderful and great. They're conserving resources. But while that's happening, there is also this evangelization that's going on. Now, Tulsa, we're in a different kind of place. We're growing. The Diocese of Tulsa, the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City, we're growing. We're expanding. We have lots of people becoming Catholic. You have in RCIA this year here in Stillwater. You have.
I think we have 3 RCIA classes that are like 20 people total.
Yeah, we're gonna have. I think it's gonna be 28. So that's just in little old Stillwater, almost 60 people,
right,
who are becoming Catholic. That's crazy. That's awesome.
Okay.
We have more and more people coming to Mass. We have more and more people coming back to Mass who grew up Catholic. So that's just happening here. We just built a brand new church. Father Kerry is in the process of building a brand new church.
Yeah, buildingsaints.com. Check it out.
That's going to last. I mean, our church is built to last for hundreds of years. You're doing the same thing.
Right.
That these two churches are going to stand and be for the people of Payne County and the students of Oklahoma State, beacons of hope that we are not going anywhere. Is the world in a perfect place? Heck no. Does it seem like things are sort of burning down around us? Yeah.
But has it ever been in a perfect place?
Right. But into that comes the beauty and the glory and the great history of the Catholic Church and all that we bring, especially Jesus Christ and the sacraments.
Okay, let's go global real quick.
Global. Okay.
I'm gonna have to go. I think we did something a while ago about sort of like Asia, the growth of the church in Asia.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, because the Catholic Church is in every country. We're in every country in the world.
So even I think one noticeable place is the rise of the church in Korea. Korea, Catholicism at the turn of the century, they say was like 10 to 12,000 people, and now it's 5.5 million.
Yeah.
It's just boom, boom, boom going up. EWTN has, I think, a Korean affiliate, or at least they have different things going on.
Yeah, they're all
in the peninsula.
Worldwide.
Yeah,
worldwide.
In the peninsula that are Korean. I mean, we get Spanish. I mean, Spanish is a huge language to South and Central America and part of Europe. But do we have it in German and Polish?
That I don't know.
But they definitely have some affiliate stations in Korea.
But the church is growing. We are growing worldwide. You look at in Europe, is the church super healthy in Europe right now? No. But is Europe the whole world? No. You look south of the equator, you look in Africa, lots of places in South America and Asia, and the church is growing and is booming in lots of places. I was so impressed lately with, there was a military coup in Burma, also known as Myanmar, and this is personal for us here in Tulsa because we have a Burmese community in Tulsa at St. Catherine of Alexandria Church in West Tulsa.
Oh, that's right.
They have recently kind of merged is not the word, but there's a beautiful parish, the Immaculate Heart of Mary, Tonu Maria, which is the Burmese parish. And they have Mass in English and they have Mass in Zomi. And it's the only place in the United States that has a Mass in Zomi. And it's a huge parish, and it's young and vibrant and awesome. So there was, a couple weeks back, a military coup in Burma, in Myanmar. And who has been one of the more outspoken critics of the coup, kind of fighting back, and it's the cardinal in Burma, in Myanmar.
Whoa.
Cardinal, I think his last name is Bo, B-O, speaking out, right, and being prophetic. And this, I think, is the church. I think we're not as prophetic as we ought to be. That we can sort of cower sometimes. But here's this priest in this largely non-Catholic country speaking out against this military coup, which is putting his own life in danger.
Yeah, Charles Mong Bo.
But is being prophetic, right? And so there's another example of the church in this one particular place in this country that I think most Americans have probably never heard of and will never go to and don't care about. But who's there? It's the church that Christ founded, doing what we do, which is serving people, right? Love God, love neighbor, right? Being a witness to the good news of Jesus Christ, even when it's difficult.
Exciting stuff.
It's amazing.
So
Amazing.
there's
It's inspiring.
So what we need to do is like, sometimes take our eyes off ourselves and look globally at like what's going on, because I think sometimes we lose hope, and we think, oh, the church is either dying, or this is scandal, or this and that. That there are beautiful things going on of different religious communities. One of the things that I really just love to hear is the amount of Eucharistic adoration that goes on around the world.
Amazing.
That's prior to the council. I almost said it, Nicaea. Prior to the Second Vatican Council, it was confined mostly to religious orders and cathedral churches. And
adoration.
Yeah, Eucharistic adoration. And now Eucharistic adoration is in parishes around the world. Perpetual adoration.
We just added a day.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah, you used to have it on Wednesday.
And now we have it Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Oh, fantastic.
Starting in Lent.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay.
Come on over. Spend time with the Lord.
Indeed, I will.
But that's a beautiful, and that's happening. I mean, in our plan, we're just going to keep expanding that. Our goal is to have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which a lot of parishes already have. In Stillwater, that has not been part of the culture, so it's something that we have to build, and so we're building it. That's what we're doing. We're building saints.
I love that you are using our phrase. I mean, because that's what the church is supposed to do.
You're not the only one who builds saints. You just bought the website.
Oh, and yeah, I got the title too. There's some other things. I think as a young man said recently, Father, what did that girl on the wall? Why are those girls on the wall over there on the vocations wall? And I said, all those girls are becoming sisters. And they're like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes we don't see sisters in the United States because they used to be everywhere.
Everywhere.
And now like Paul Huska had a convent.
There were sisters in Stillwater.
Were there really?
Yeah. At the old school.
Wow. And now those days are over by about 40 or 50 years. But they are growing around the world. There's a group called the Sisters of St. Paul of Chartres, like the cathedral in the diocese, Chartres, Chartres, France. And it is a group of sisters that they're evangelists around the world.
Yeah, it's amazing. We know well the Religious Sisters of Mercy in Tulsa. We know the Benedictine Sisters in Tulsa. We know they're not in Tulsa, but we do have in Tulsa Sisters of St. Francis of the Martyr St. George.
Oh, yeah.
Alton, Illinois. That's where Jin joined up. But we also know what are commonly called the Servadoras, who are the
sisters of the
servants of the Lord and the Virgin of Matara from Argentina. So one of our local young women, formerly known as Angela Kometz, who is now Sister Servant of the Cross, is teaching down in Dallas.
Her twin brother is a priest in the order.
And her twin brother is a priest of the Institute of the Incarnate Word. But then I love, Father Pratt, who's a good friend of ours. We need to get Father Pratt on the show. He's being a wuss.
He's lame. He's a Stillwater native. It's not Stillwater. He left Stillwater and he just lost his. He just lost it. He lost it once he left God's country.
But he, the number of men and women that he is actively working with, discerning priesthood and religious life, would blow you away. It's over 100.
Yes,
it's over 100 young men and women that he is actively working with, who are thinking about priesthood and religious life, who are going to be around long after the pastors of Payne are dead.
And it's like 40 of them in the city of Stillwater.
Oh, it's awesome.
Like both townie kids and college kids.
So there's just so much to be hopeful about. Is there work to do? Yes. And we've got to work. We got to work, people. We got to pray. We got to work. And ultimately it starts with us. G.K. Chesterton famously said, "What's wrong with the world?" And he said, "I am." Right? So we got to we have to allow the Lord to bring about our own conversion and just keep working and keep building. It doesn't stop. You and I have a role to play building the church right where you are, but there's a lot to be hopeful about, and we want you to have hope in Jesus Christ.
Did you say buildingsaints.com?
Whatever.
That's what we do.
Have a great week, and we're glad you're listening. We love you.
God bless you.